Welcome to the FNRad Snowboarding Podcast. I'm Eric Charlson, and this is episode 14.
Yeah, I didn't start even riding till I was 65 years old.
The first board I ran was this plastic Sims Lonnie Toft with a skate deck.
Snowboarding is exactly the same as it used to be. It's just, everybody wants something from it.
I don't know if I can endure any more shitty winters.
We're going to be okay, and that's all that matters.
You can put it away for a while, but you can't put it away forever because it's just almost like a spiritual thing.
Before the interview this week, I want to take a second to thank Jason Borgstead for his comments on the Terrier episode. And thanks to everyone who listens to this. You're seriously the reason we do this. This week's interview takes place in the Mount Baker lower parking lot, where we spotted two 90s pro snowboarders. Dan Donnelly, who was the OG pro rider for K2, grew up racing BMX in Mount Vernon, Washington, with his childhood best friend Craig Kelly. And Rob Morrow, who founded Morrow Snowboards in '89 with his cousin Neil. Morrow Snowboards introduced tons of innovations like spoon nose and tail boards, deep side cuts, and composite cores that rode amazingly. The Morrow team in the early 90s was impressive, and Rob himself landed 2 Transworld Snowboarding cover shots in 1992. Next week we'll have a full interview with Mike Rankwit, but in the meantime, here's a quick conversation with 2 of snowboarding's legends in the Mount Baker parking lot.
All the regular categories ran yesterday and today.
Yeah.
Correct?
True. And tomorrow is Legends, but it's also, like, if you're in Legends, you can also be in the Pro Masters, but your qualifiers are tomorrow.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So, like, you have a real small qualifier. If you're just, like, Pro Masters,
right?
Like, I think yesterday and today, they just take, like, minimal people.
Well, let's see my time. I'm going Mid-Masters Legends, but if I can get a time in there, I'll say, I want to race Pro Masters, too.
Hell yeah.
I'm fucking 48. Well, how old are you?
46.
What?
Maybe I should be switching.
Why aren't you? I stopped racing Pro Masters like 2 years ago. I was like, fuck that.
I haven't been good since the 90s. Why not?
I mean, it's like, fucking, not Marcel does Killer Dolak, but Mark Fawcett will come down and fucking smoke Pro Masters and you can still get a top 10 pro time.
Well, of course,
That son of a bitch.
Well, yeah, and fucking...
There's a lot of guys. I'm like fucking 2 years away. If we were 50, we'd really smoke it.
Well, you're almost 50.
Shit, you're right behind me. 2 years. You'll take that 2 years, won't you?
2 years.
2 years is like this.
Okay, you got 2 years without me, then I'll come in your
Fire away.
All right,
I love
boys.
this guy.
Yeah, these guys, I'm here in the parking lot, Mount Baker, bank slalom, with 2 of the fucking legends of legends, Dano, Rob Morrow. So you guys are just talking about racing. What categories are you in right now?
I'm gonna race Mid-Masters this year because assholes like Rob Morrow, and Mark Fawcett and Marcel, all those Pro Master guys. I mean, I'm gonna say I'm 48, getting closer to 50, so Mid-Masters is good enough for me. It's kind of more of a class reunion, right? You still want to do good, but
yeah.
This guy's always been smoking fast.
You still want the jacket, right?
Yeah, I still want a jacket or some duct tape.
Yeah,
if I can just have a beer and see my old homies, it's good enough.
Yeah.
What was the first year? Were you guys both in the first year? 85?
No.
You know what?
Were you?
I broke my ankle the day before 85's up in hotel.
I was in the second year.
But you went to 85 Worlds, didn't you?
Yeah.
Soda Springs?
Yeah. So then I healed up and went to 85 Worlds in Soda Springs, and but we've been racing together this race since the beginning of time.
I love
much.
that.
At first I thought Rob, he was so quiet when he first came up here, he was like a dick. But he's really the greatest guy ever, and he was hella fast. But he'd put his tunes on back. He probably had an Astro deck out to here or something back then.
A big, I had a record player.
Yeah. He was spinning vinyl while he was going down the bank slalom at 100 miles an hour. This guy was like a rocket ship. He was like, the fuck is this guy from Oregon?
That's what's funny. Back in the day, when like the half-pipe contests and stuff, I always wanted to play a certain song, and you had freaking tape players, and I'd be at the top, and I'd get all screwed up or whatever, and they'd be like, okay, Rob Morrow, drop in, and I'm like rewinding, I can't get it to the spot, and they're like, okay, and you have to rewind this freaking thing, you can't just flip through it like you can nowadays. Without the music, it
the
just
problems that we had, problems Rob had getting his tune on right.
So. That's pretty early on, having tunage back then.
They actually had these
the whole time.
Remember those Astro
I
decks?
where music,
You got a Walkman by then.
It was tape, cassette.
Yeah, no.
Cassette tapes, yeah. See, I have kids now, so I don't get to listen to music when I snowboard.
That's
so.
it. That's it.
Because I'm with them, and I'm,
You know, a couple of people have mentioned you in their episodes. Wendell, Tim.
Oh, yeah?
Tim, and Kurt Heine mentioned, like, that how Hood was when there was nobody there. Yeah, now there's 3 million people there in the summers.
I was riding with Josh Dirksen this morning, and I'm riding this old 89 half pipe.
Sick.
And he's just like, wow. He's like, yeah, why don't you just pull out like your old Blaze or like your first board or whatever? And I was like, because these were the days. This was the day, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, the day making boards was awesome, but like the days of the Sims FE and the half pipe. I mean, those were.
What was your first board?
My first board was it was a Burton Elite, and then same year I got a Sims FE.
That was a big jump.
Thank God. I mean, it was.
A lot of people have said that.
Well, we had the Burton. Jeff had 4 rentals at his shop, and I would get the last one because Craig and Jeff would all get the best ones, and they get the Performer, and I'd get the fucking powder gun, which was longer. Yeah. With a shittier rear binding, just the rubber band back then.
The round tail?
Yeah, and then not round tail. It was swallow, just a short swallow,
okay,
right? They were all swallow, and they were the experimental series back then. But then
didn't have like a green strap on it or something.
It had a green strap or a tan strap, and mine was actually regular wood color. Theirs were blue, and then we all upgraded and got Burton Performer experimental models that were blue with half water ski binding, and we'd bungee ourselves in and makeshift shit. But then, like Rob said, when we made the jump to, we all got 1500 FEs in like 83 or something, right around then, and then that was like pivotal. That's when in the bindings were better, and we figured out buckles, and we got Sorels started slipping ski boot liners in the Sorels, and then, duct tape them up, and then of course
lots of duct tape.
We were lucky because we had some pioneers that were doing stuff down at the bike factory, and Eric Gallison started laying those edges, put metal edges in P-Tex when we didn't have
the early Sims
on the early Sims model. He actually had the job. Tom Sims came up here and saw that and goes, "What the fuck?" So he had shipped all his boards up to Washington to get metal edges put on, and then shipped back down.
Well, had the black on the
side. You could see the little side stripes. Yeah.
And that was Eric Gallison doing
before.
that. Yeah. So then, of course, then everybody figured it out. But that was really pivotal because
they're screwed in.
Yeah, we took our fins off, and then we were able to carve. Well, I wouldn't say you carve yet, but we were able to glide through flats and go anywhere on the mountain and carry speed. So that was a big game changer. Plus, the 1500 FE was just a powder ripper.
Who did you ride for before you started Morrow?
Sims.
So almost every single person was on Sims.
Yep.
Like very few Easties that were Burton only.
Only the Easties. We were all West Coast guys were Sims.
Yeah.
All of us from here to Oregon to California were primarily
anybody
Sims.
that was freestyle.
Right.
Was Sims because that was the board. I mean, those boards just were like they rocked.
Yeah. They ripped.
The Burton was just such a pain in the ass. I mean, they're so collectible. Those old Burtons. I mean, they're so expensive to collect them, and I've just always had a bad taste in my mouth because I just hated that board. I mean, I loved it, but after I got the Sims, I just hated it because I was so in love with my Sims.
It's a huge game changer. I mean, it is what it is because it was just the early days, and I mean, obviously everybody made leaps and bounds, and then all of a sudden Burton would get a little ahead of Sims, and Sims would get a little Burton, and then all the other players came in, and everybody started making their own boards.
Yeah, that twin tip from Barfoot was a bit of if you got on it, right? Like a lot guys that like that
85 World Championships. Remember those prop boards? I mean, there was flight, shit. There was a lot of boards.
Props, Snowtech.
That never made it through. Was Winterstick ever a player? They were always Utah
we never saw
and
many
PAL
winter
stuff,
sticks
right?
in the day we knew of them.
They were so specialized.
And
then they tried to
and Utah PAL, not like PAL like today. You couldn't really even ride them; they just snap.
And you probably could have, but we were having to ride everything, so you couldn't just have a board that couldn't go out of the PAL and run the groomer. You had to have a board that did everything. And still to that day,
But do you want that board in your collection? Oh my God, yeah.
Hell yes. You want that Performer in your collection. It's like, I mean, I wish I never would have. At those days, we were broke, young, and living on crackers and ketchup in the lodge. So you kicked your board down to your buddy and sold it for next to nothing so you could get your next board. I wish I would have saved all my boards. I don't have anything but a couple of pro models that I have left.
Yeah.
And I really wish I had my old boards.
How much input do you have into that thing? to the ecstasy?
Oh,
was that all you?
I had a lot of input, yeah.
Yeah, did Craig help you out? Like, you guys were really,
we rode
really
together,
tight.
you know, and we were thinking similar. We rode together. We were alike riders because we grew up riding together all our life. So, yeah, I mean, it was total input. It was great. The only input that they would not listen to was they would not listen to, I said, wood core inserts. Wood core inserts. Hi, Josh. Wood core inserts, and they nope, we're going to do fiberglass with a torsion box wrap because that's what we've done on the VO skis for the Mayer brothers, and it's killer, and we're going to put a plate in there and we're going to drill in, and fuck, everybody just tore out them. Great board, great side cut flex and everything
Still
else.
would ride awesome now. you would almost have to T-bolt it.
A next generation board.
Yeah. It was a sick board. If they just would have put wood core and some inserts in it, it would have been a player for a long time.
Remember the sizes on it too? I remember it was long. Like
a 56, but that was normal. Oh, yeah, 56 and long for the day.
We built torsion boxes the whole freaking time.
Remember that?
I built torsion. That's what we built.
I know.
The whole freaking 10 years.
Dude,
because you've got longitudinal flex, but you got torsional rigidity to carve.
Yeah, it was a challenge though. I mean, building wood boards would have been so much easier.
I worked for K2 when they bought Morrow, and we got some warranty stuff back that was actual real Morrow stuff.
Yeah.
And that was, like, I don't know, stripped insert or something. I rode that the whole time I was there.
Yeah.
The best boards. They rode so good. That Todd Richards.
They were better than the K2 boards.
Oh my God, are you kidding?
The K2 boards were kind of lumpy, bumpy. They had a lot of, the cores were fucked up.
You know what? I was there when the guy who they put in charge of brand manager for Morrow was agonizing over, do we go high end awesome or do we go price point shitty? I was like, please awesome, please keep it awesome, stay awesome. And they
everybody's got their growing pains, and we had the same thing when I was riding for GNU when we did our joint venture with K2, and I left under their blessings because I love those guys, but we had that first year is when all those anti-gravities were bricks. They went to the foam core thing too, remember? We all did. And they had those, remember those? We were testing them at Hood. Those anti-gravities were fucking, you couldn't even flex them. They were bricks.
Murray has one up in Canada.
Injection though, or?
No, I don't think so. It was before that.
Okay.
It was first generation.
They were full wood core, and then they did the rim injection during
this was, I think they were foam core. I think they were
well,
doing,
that is rim, right?
They were
like
doing
the
some
reaction injection molding where they have like a sliver of wood in the middle and or none, and then just
they might put stuff in it.
They just put stuff in it.
But it's mostly just a harder foam, like high density foam core.
I could be wrong, but it was at the time that we were doing a collab with K2. They were sharing knowledge, and we were testing in the summer at Hood, and
that's incredible. Yeah. That would have been a rad collab.
Yeah, it was happening.
Right, K2 and Mike and Pete.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it was Mike and Pete at the time dealing with K2. Al Davignon was the engineer behind K2 at the time. And
I saw that ski
Mike
weaver.
Mike on his own, though, is just a cool thing.
He's rad.
He's the best.
Yeah, he's the best.
I would hate to have him in a
he needs
in
to
a
be
group setting. He's just so.
He needs to be free.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah. He cannot be corralled.
Yeah,
he's fucking awesome. And so is Pete, sorry.
I say over and over, I think that they're responsible for an awful lot of shit. Like, he was physically taking a rope and a pencil and measuring out the side cuts and goes, oh, you know what? With an 8-meter rope, it seems to be pretty good. They tried 6 and they tried 12 and they tried,
Well, he's a mad scientist, So he just has ideas coming out of his head constantly.
And that wavy side cut stuff, have you guys tried the magnet traction?
I'm not a big fan.
I love it.
It's cool. The first magnet traction they had was a little overkill, and the latest is better.
What board are you guys riding now?
I'm riding a Burton currently. I got some prototype from Dave Downing that JG made for next year, and it's super sick. It's cambered, tapered, and it floats like a butterfly and stings like a bee.
Sick. How about you, Rob? You're riding that Sims.
Well, I'm riding a Sims half pipe, but I have a 98 Blaze.
Nice.
That's I've been riding this whole time.
I love that, dude. That's incredible. It's a great board. Actually, I found it, a rail, an old rail.
Yeah.
It's rad. Still good.
It's all fun.
That's funny.
Oh, 34s or something. Right on. Well, thank you guys.
Yeah, you bet.
You guys have to come down.
FNRad shout-outs to Dan Donnelly and Rob Morrow. Thanks to Evan Camp for the music in this episode. Why don't you go subscribe to us on iTunes and leave a review if you like the show. And come back next week for the Mike Rankwood episode. FNRad Snowboarding Podcast is brought to you by BR Productions.